What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news. And in this one, as always, we get a handful of updates from Bungie. They talk about a future Sundered Doctrine contest mode weekend, a handful of other changes that we're going to see in the patch on Thursday. They also clarify patch notes which were missed at the launch of Heresy. And additionally, we're going to talk about future content for episode Heresy, some upcoming quests, side missions, a new activity for one of the upcoming acts of the episode, as well as the return of a Dreadnought strike. So a couple of interesting things on that front. Plus there are brand new details about No Land Beyond. And we'll talk about the Barrow Dyad exotic quest that popped up this week, with a couple of pointers which may help folks who have yet to been able to start that exotic quest. There's a bit of RNG involved in that, so we'll cover it in the video, guys. If you enjoy this one, a rating below really does help us out. But now, let's get into it. And so, getting into the updates from Bungie right here, the D2 team have said that due to issues affecting PlayStation players' ability to sign into Destiny 2 over the weekend, they are planning an additional Sundered Doctrine contest mode weekend for all platforms. Specific dates and times will be announced at a later date, and they point out that the Sundered Doctrine race has concluded. This will simply be an additional opportunity for those who had fire teams impacted by the outage to attempt to clear the dungeon at contest difficulty. And so there was a big PlayStation outage over the course of the weekend that did leave quite a significant number of players unable to really engage with the contest mode, apart from with a few hours at the end of it. So I think Bungie are kind of making the best of a bad job here. Of course, they aren't responsible for what happened at PlayStation specifically, and neither are the players who were unable to actually get involved with contest. I have seen some complaints from players that did do contest over the weekend, saying that this is a bit of an L for Bungie, opening this up to the entire community once again. But like I said, I feel like they didn't really have a lot of options available, given that so many people were actually excluded from it. So I think they've taken the best choice personally, and who cares really if it gives more players opportunities to earn the exotic. That's just my opinion, as obviously it isn't particularly fair to exclude a bunch of people due to an external issue. Give us your thoughts about it down below. Otherwise, this week, Bungie have said we're getting a patch on Thursday, targeting healing perks and abilities in the Nether, as well as difficulty of the Explore mode. So we'll see how that pans out. Hopefully, it'll make for a better experience overall. Otherwise, there'll be a fix for the Overload machine gun perk and a nerf for Radiant Dance machines, which is currently popping off and absolutely dominating in the Crucible. So that's the first set of changes, but additionally, Bungie have added they'll be adding fixes for Revenant Major Fieldworks, Revenant Onslaught Salvation playlists, as well as Microcosm and the Lunar New Year items in collections. So that should mean Microcosm is re-enabled, but otherwise, we'll have to see what the patch notes say on Thursday. A couple of other quick updates, but Bungie recognised that last week the Heresy patch notes had missed details on changes for the redirection perk, as we've covered here on the channel, so they've reworked it to improve quality of life and to be more generous, increasing stacks from ×20 to 30, but they've also increased the stacks built per hit on minor combatants from ×1 to ×2, and reduced the stacks consumed per hit on stronger combatants from ×5 to ×3, or ×2 if enhanced, but the damage bonus remains the same. And as I've already discussed, that perk is now very strong, definitely worth paying attention to if you get any weapons dropped, like the sword from the Nether, which can roll it, or existing things that you may have already unlocked and are in the vault, so keep it in mind. Otherwise, we mentioned yesterday the new Ardent Adoration holo chip thing that you can buy in the Eververse store. They weren't working as intended, so Bungie disabled it, but they've now re-enabled it after resolving an issue, and they say these can again be acquired, unlocked, and claimed from Flare collections once purchased. So if you want to run around with a lovely heart trail, you can go ahead and do that if you like. Otherwise, over the weekly reset, we got a bit of a surprise, of course, with the Barrow Dyad exotic SMG dropping in the game. Quite a secretive quest initially. I've still yet to actually use the weapon any real amount, and I've seen a lot of conversation about bugs in the quest line and difficulty actually starting it as well. So in my video yesterday, I pointed out that there's a taken orb in the trenchway spawn of the Dreadnought. Bit of a heads up for those still looking for it to get the quest started. The taken Blight orb will actually spawn in one of the 3 Dreadnought locations that you get in a run of the Nether. I don't know every single potential zone that it can spawn in, but for the Court of Oryx area, if you're standing at the court looking back into the hall where the Tormentor is, the Taken Orb can potentially spawn on the right-hand side pillar, as we can see right here, so that's just through the hallway past the statues. If you're in the Mausoleum, towards where the Ogre Boss spawns, it could potentially show up on one of the pillars here, so it will always be attached to a pillar on a sort of outside wall or something like that, and you'll see that there are 4 hive runes alongside it. And the other spawn is the Trenchway, again by the Tormentor boss in this zone, as you look out towards Saturn. All the way on the right hand side of the room, there'll be another Taken Orb. I'm guessing there's potentially a fourth one in the sort of prison area where the taken meatball spawns, but it's good to know now that it can spawn in any of the 4 areas. It was difficult for me to cover because we got in on our first run in the trenchway, and once you've interacted with it, it will just disappear. So there was no way for me to backtrack and figure out, can it spawn in different areas and all that kind of stuff. That's the difficulty with some of these exotic quests sometimes. There can be variations that you can't really account for because you can only play it once, right? So that's that part, and beyond that, we're sort of back and forth between lost sectors, different areas of the game, and then, of course, ultimately the exotic mission. Then after the main quest, there's an additional one to get the catalyst upgrade for the weapon, so give us your impressions if you've already run it, and otherwise good luck on the hunt, as it can of course be a little bit of a grind. To round up a few final things right here, Bungie Leaks shared a bit of info about some rewards coming up in Heresy. Obviously, there'll be a few spoilers here, so keep that in mind if you don't want to know, but there'll be some side quests that we'll get access to during Act 1, and I think we'll basically be gathering data for Commander Sloan. So there's mission Dossier Blight, another one called Anchored Thrones, and one called Hive Hacking. And I think on the most part, they're sort of high-value target quests where we just go to a place and take out a bunch of enemies. It would appear, though, that that has its own exclusive reward, which will be the Ruinous Flame legendary ship. There's been some speculation as to whether this will be indeed the correct ship, as that model's been used in the past. We'll just have to wait and find out, but it'll be an extra element of pursuit during Act 1. And then it would appear that the Act 2 activity at least has a title right here, so it will be called Court of Blades. And best we can tell, there'll be 3 variants of it, according to Bungie Leaks. So there'll be the Blood of Oryx, another called Wrathborn, and Lucent Brood. And Court of Blades makes me think of Court of Oryx. Whether it will be in the Court of Oryx specifically, we're not entirely sure yet, as obviously we already have access to that particular zone on the Dreadnought, so it may just be a different thing. But that'll be the secondary activity for Act 2, otherwise we don't know a ton of details about it just yet. But Bungie Leaks also shared it would appear that the Sunless Cell Strike is going to be coming back at some point during this episode, and that's where we met Alakul on the Dreadnought in Destiny 1. And if indeed we are getting a strike on top of the other episode activities, and furthermore, if this is added to the strike rotations and becomes a permanent strike in the game, then that's another kind of win for Heresy overall, I would say. Yes, there'll be jokes about how many times Bungie have brought Alakul back. Of course, we had the Light Blade. According to Bungie Leaks, this time the boss will be called Obakhul Imprisoned. So I don't know if this will be another Dark Blade or what. Take it with a pinch of salt, obviously, as it isn't confirmed by Bungie yet, but if we get the addition of another strike on top of the episode stuff we've already got and what we'll get through Acts 2 and 3, that's pretty good going. And beyond that, or perhaps around the same time, according to Bungie Leaks, there's a bit more information about the New Land Beyond now, and it's a reprise to No Land Beyond from Destiny 1. They say it is now confirmed to be a pre-order bonus for an upcoming content drop for Destiny, probably the Apollo expansion. That's why it's currently in the game files, as it is actually going to drop as part of Episode 3, essentially, or it will at least drop in that timeline. Whether that will be during Act 2 or Act 3 is yet to be seen, but according to this, the intrinsic trait, the Master, will allow scoring precision hits to increase the weapon's damage until the wielder is defeated, and it'll apparently be an 80% damage buff at 24 stacks, and at that point the buff name will also change to Grandmaster. On top of that, the secondary trait is Bullseye Bolster, and landing a precision hit substantially increases this weapon's target acquisition, handling, reload speed, and stability for a short duration. So those are the data mined perks for the moment. Again, take it with a pinch of salt, although as more information is unveiled about the thing, it becomes more clear that this is very much likely to drop in the game during this episode. All the evidence points to, yes, it's a thing, so we'll see how it pans out. As always though, with anything yet to be confirmed or released, some elements could be changed, although a lot of this information at this point is pretty reliable, so I'm looking forward to all of that stuff, guys, and give us your thoughts below. For the moment, though, that's what we have to round up in the video. So if you've enjoyed this one, a rating below really does help us on the channel. Also be sure to get subscribed, and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny content. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.